This is the Marathon Handbook Podcast, and I am joined today by Alex Sear and, of course, as always, Katelyn Tossi, and we are going to draft races, guys.
Nice.
This is an unusual concept. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do what we're provisionally calling a race draft. We'll get into the details of how that works in just a second. But basically, if you're familiar with, say, fantasy sports, or just like dreaming up your bucket list for races you would want to do in a calendar year, that's effectively what we're going to do, although we're going to do it in competitive fashion, because once one event comes off the board, the other two in our group here will not be able to choose it. So very curious to see the races that each of you guys pick today. I've got my big board listed here. We'll break down the rules in just one second. But first, we were all together for the Boston Run Show this past weekend. It was amazing. It was like, it's so nice to pod in person with you two. I had so much fun. The energy was good, and more than 3 people showed up for our live podcast, which was cool.
That was a big relief.
Yeah.
When I actually looked over, we were setting up the equipment, and I was like, wow, guys, there are people, they're really here. There are people in the seats. They're going to listen to us. We're not going to just talk to ourselves and just have a conversation on stage.
Yeah, and no slight to our co-presenters, but when we got there, I looked at the presenting sheet and I could see the topics were very disparate. Okay, so before us was a presenter on fly fishing.
Mm-hmm.
After us was a presenter on coconuts. And so I thought, man, I don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really cool. And I don't know, there was a moment we looked back. I think Katelyn looked back as we were setting up the camera and was like, guys, there's people here.
It's
Don't
packed.
get nervous. It's packed.
Yeah.
But
That was standing room only, and it went really well. And you can decide for yourself how well it went, because what we're going to do is we actually recorded both video and audio that turned out well enough that I think we're just gonna post it so you get to see what we're like live on stage. I think the energy was high. It was really good.
Yep.
One thing I can say is we brought a bunch of exclusive limited edition Marathon Handbook hats that Alex and I are both wearing today as we pod. We brought 10 of them. I just didn't know how many to bring. We should have brought 50 because they were in high demand. And I apologize if you're listening to the pod now and you wanted a hat and were there in Boston and did not get one. I will try to make amends by, I think we're going to do this whole live podcast thing again. We're trying to put something together for Boston Marathon weekend because we're all going to be together again. So I'll make sure to produce and bring more hats.
thank goodness, Michael, because I promised everyone in the article I wrote about the Boston Run Show, don't worry, we'll bring more hats next time.
Yeah. And I think we can also pretty easily set up a shop on the site. If the gear continues to be successful, we'll put together a shop on the site where you can actually buy some Marathon Handbook gear as well. I think it looks pretty good. So, all right, let's pivot into the draft. Let's explain this concept. So we are going to draft. Each of us are going to create a schedule or a slate of races that we would love to do in a calendar year, or we think you will celebrate that we have selected in a calendar year, depending on your strategy here. And we're going to pick one of each of the following: an ultra, presumably a trail ultra, although there are road ultras, so that's open for interpretation. So one ultra, one marathon, one half marathon, a 10K, a 5K, a wild card event, and a race or event that you would like to go and spectate as a fan of running. So it's going to function like a fantasy draft. If you've participated in an NFL or NBA or NHL draft, fantasy draft before, fantasy league, you'll kind of know how we're operating here. When a race goes off the board, when whomever picks first picks, say, the New York City Marathon as their top pick, that goes off the board and no one else can pick it. Another little wrinkle here that may throw you guys for a loop is if any one of us picks an event within like a broader race weekend, Like if you pick a Disney race and you pick specifically the 10K, that whole weekend goes off the board. So there's a little strategic wrinkle for you. You have to pick a true distance when you pick one of the main distances other than the wild card. So, for example, I noted there were a lot of races that are sort of 10K, but they're not quite 10K, or they're a little more than 10K. Those are not 10Ks. You have to pick a true 10K. So that's something to keep in mind. Those other distances you can pick as a wild card. Ideally, each of us would have to be able to physically execute on running this full slate of races in a calendar year. So picking an ultra and then running a marathon a week later in April, suspect. You can make a case for it. You can argue that, you're going to use the one race as a training run for the other, and you could sort of argue that out if you want to, but we will allow our audience to make that decision. And then obviously, strategically, you can pick your dream slate, either draft with your heart or draft cynically and select races you think that our audience are going to approve of the most. And then we will turn this to our audience. I think we'll try to make like a poll of some kind, certainly in the YouTube comments for the YouTube version, the video version of this podcast. We want to hear from you. Chime in, give us your list, give us your dream slate, and then tell us how Alex is horribly elitist and failed at drafting, and Katelyn picked a bunch of races in Costa Rica no one's ever heard of, and that my draft was immaculate and had
will see
just bangers left and right.
I have this suspicion that we won't even know what Michael's races are.
Exactly.
It's going to be oh my God, what's the name? Godspeed You Black Emperor version of races. So in a car ride with Michael, he played his favorite band, and their average song length is like 11 minutes, and I'd never heard of them. So this is what I'm bracing myself for, and I feel like you're not going to step in on my races whatsoever.
I completely agree with Alex. It's like Michael, you're gonna choose like if it were independent films, like, you know what I mean? No, right? Am I right?
Michael's gonna be like, so in 1934 there was this pilgrimage in Siberia.
It was 68 kilometers. They barely survived. Sounds like a good race.
Yeah. 3 men from the 3 leading families of northern Russia. Yeah. I don't know these.
I will. Yeah, I'll be like picking the indie film version for
exactly.
Sure.
I know 100%.
I actually have one in particular that is the Godspeed You Black Emperor of races. I've actually got one or two, and I'm sort of like trying to. My wild card is going to be a tough one. So, couple questions before we start drafting here. A, do you have like a big board, each of you? Do you have like, and how deep does it go? Is it like, because you only really have to pick your top 3 in each event, but like I was starting to list like 5-6 races that I liked in each event.
I've got like 3 or 4. I've got 3 or 4 for each one, because not that I'm so worried you guys are going to steal my races. However, I kind of do feel like you guys know me well enough that if you want to on purpose, you could steal one of my races because you know me well. But I have like 3 or 4 deep, because if you do, I get backups.
I am really rich in the events I want to spectate and in the half marathon, because that's where I am right now. And these are all races that I've considered doing like right now. I'm pretty weak in the trail, man.
I can't wait to see what you chose.
This is like a fun and torturous exercise, especially for Alex with Ultra, because he's just like, I have to say I want to do one of these things. This is insane. But
it's like, which 3 race do you want to do? And then it's like, well, define want, you know?
Well, it's like theoretically it would be an interesting experience one day, perhaps, is the way that you pitch this to our audience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or you chose a trail race that's on just like gravel, like a flat gravel road where you could basically do your 10K time on a 10K.
Like running the baseball bases. Does that count?
Oh, there you go. No, it definitely does not count. I mean, if you wanted to run it for 100 miles, sure. Yeah. Oh, you could go around the bases for like,
for 100 miles.
For 100 miles.
That'd be good.
No, I do have better picks.
Okay. We'll see.
Do you, final question before we get into the draft. Do you each of you think that you have a good sense of what the others are going to pick?
I do. I don't. I have, like I said, in the sense that I think the type of races, like I'm saying, Michael, yours is going to be an independent film kind of situation, and Alex's is going to be, and you can prove me wrong, super fast races where you can hit amazing PRs with a really deep elite field. Can you guys like categorize mine without before I even say it to see if you're right?
I have one in particular I think you're going to pick because there's one that you've mentioned on previous pods, and I'm like, I think she's going to pick that race.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. We'll see. All right. So we're going to do this to decide the draft order. I'm going to use a slick. Oh, hold on here. I don't want to. I'm going to share the screen here with my colleagues, and I don't want to show my draft board to them here. Hold on. Let's get this right. All right. There we go. We're using the wheelofnames.com.
Amazing.
That all three of our names put in here. It's a randomizer. It will select draft order, and the draft order will work like this. We're going to do snake draft. So if you've done a fantasy sports draft before, you may be familiar with the snake order. It's essentially first person first, second person second, third person third. Then third person goes fourth, second person goes fifth, first person goes sixth, if you follow my logic here. So we'll just ping pong back and forth. Big question mark is, what's the strategic advantage? Going first overall or going third and getting 2 picks in a row?
I kind of have a sense that I want to go first. I actually do want to go first because I think one category is going to be up for grabs quickly.
I want to go third. I hope I get third like Michael thinks I get 2 in a row.
That's the other one, is that we're not picking in any kind of hierarchy or order. Mm-hmm. It's up to you what the strategy is. If the marathon is a really deep bench of events, so maybe it's not the best event to pick at first. Wildcards, anything. So maybe not 5K, 10K, a little more challenging. So we'll see what everyone's strategy is here. All right. So I'll spin the wheel here. Click to spin. Who is going first? It is going to be Katelyn is the first overall picker. And then hold on here. Okay.
Gotta remove. Okay, face to face.
Who's going second? Oh, I don't want to go second.
You want to go third to get the double pick.
I do. Come on, keep spinning. Come on. Hey, okay, I go third, which means Alex, you are going in the middle of the draft order. Okay. Are we ready? So with the first overall pick, Katelyn Tossi, we'll turn it to you. What do you got?
Okay. I'm going to start with the marathon distance, which I think maybe everyone thought would be the trickiest to get their race, even though I'm not quite sure you guys want to run the race that I want to run. I am choosing the Walt Disney Marathon.
What? Yeah. First overall is the Walt Disney Marathon. I love
it. This was on my maybes. Okay.
It was on your maybe? You see, okay. I want to run the Walt Disney Marathon because Disney is just very me. I want to run through all of the parks. I want to go to the Walt Disney Marathon so then I can stay and I can go to all the parks afterwards. Yeah. I love rides. I love just like the magic of Walt Disney. I want to do all of that. And I know this can't count as part of the marathon, but what I really want to do is the Dopey Challenge. So,
oh my God.
So at the end of it, it's basically like it's a road stage race. So, right. So you run the 5K, like let's say the 5K is on Thursday, you run a 10K on Friday, you run a half marathon on Saturday, and then you run the marathon on Sunday. So it's basically like I can't bank on running well in any of these races because I want to do them all. But it would just be a super fun experience. And I've done a lot of trail stage races before. So it's something that I like to do. So even though I can only choose it for the marathon, it's just like a plus that the Disney Marathon has. And come on, it would be just super fun to go with a bunch of friends and hang out at Epcot afterward and like eat a ton.
That's the weirdest first pick. I was not anticipating that. I mean, I thought maybe it might go off the board at some point. And yeah, you could also basically like fill out your entire draft order with the full Dopey Challenge. I mean, that I've heard of people doing this Dopey Challenge. It's like one of those, it seemed like a good idea at the time type scenarios where you're halfway through the last event, the marathon. You're like, what the heck am I doing? Yeah. Would you dress up in a costume?
Yeah, I would definitely want to be I would want to be comfortable, but I want to have some sort of princess attire on each day. I think that would
You know what?
definitely.
You know what you could pull off is
What?
the princess from Frozen.
Oh,
Okay,
Anna or Elsa? Which
Elsa.
one?
And for Halloween last year, guys, I could share this for you to stick up in the in the show if you want to. I have a photo of myself dressed up as Elsa, and you're right, it's pretty bang on.
Is
Oh
it,
my
is it
God.
fast? Like, can you wear it in a fast way? Can you still run with it?
I actually did wear it running because we always do a Halloween fun run in the trails around here, and I wore a dress, an Elsa dress that I could run in. So I could make some tweaks to actually use it for run. Oh, and by the way, it is January 7th to 11th. The marathon is probably the last day. So this year it was on the 11th. Just so we keep that in mind. It's like it starts out the year a week after New Year's.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
And temporarily it'd be great because you're in the warmth.
Yep.
It's just like back home. And we learned last week in Boston, as you kept complaining, that the cold, in fact, bothered you anyways.
I couldn't speak, right, Michael?
You couldn't talk at one point, and I just felt so badly for you. You've just like, I know you're a girl from Newton, Mass, but
Yeah.
we were running in Newton, Mass, and you look like a popsicle. So, okay, all right.
Man,
So
I think my Frozen reference just went flat. That sucks. You guys missed it. I guess it wasn't that good.
oh, that's good. That is good. That is good. Yes, it
Thank
totally
you.
went
Pity clap.
flat.
Thank you for
Oh
the pity
wow,
clap. Good.
that's yeah,
Yes.
that went way over my head there.
Yeah.
Um, strategically, also a good pick because it's a January race, right?
Mhm.
So there you go. So
Mhm.
nice and safe. All right, Mr. Sear, you're next up on the board here.
Okay. So with the number 2 overall pick of the 2025 race draft, Team Sear selects from across the pond the London Marathon.
Oh, it was on my list.
Oh, that was on
It
my list too. Damn it.
I'm going quick and early with this one because I don't think you will pick any of my other top races.
Okay.
I actually don't think, but the London Marathon,
confident.
I was petrified because Michael, you went last year and you saw your wife race and you kept raving about how the event was awesome, and I kind of suspected that that's the one you were going to pick, so I wanted
Yep.
to pick
Yeah.
it now. The appeal for me with London is not only is it an awesome city to travel to, I've traveled there once, the course is super scenic, and it's a race I'd want to do soon because when I do debut in the marathon, maybe next year, maybe the year after, I expect that I will be quick enough to enter the elite field, and that would be a really, really cool experience in itself. I think that the elite field starts at 217, 218, and
Look
that would
at
be
this guy.
my total goal to get in. So
This is amazing.
That's a cool bucket list, actually. Like, I think respect to that. I mean, like, people can sort of, oh, he's Mr. Fast Guy, get in the elite field, but that's a very cool goal. That's
and
very neat.
my list has 2 components. It's like there's some races that I'm totally picking for speed, and then others that will be for the experience, maybe a bit later on in life. And the marathon, I want it to be in my faster years. So I'm banking that I get in and do it. But yeah, London is number 2.
That's
I
awesome.
got
That
it.
was on my list, and you got it. It was number 2 on my list
It
for
was-
marathons. Yeah.
It was debated. It was like 1A,
Yeah.
1B for me in the marathon.
Oh.
So it's, yeah. All right. So I've got 2 picks.
Oh, that's April 26th, by the way. Well, it was April 20, just so we keep the dates.
Yeah.
Yes.
Third, yeah.
Clear.
Like last,
Like-
Also a
last
draw
week
for
in
me, by the
April.
way. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got 2 picks in a row here.
Oh, Michael. That's right. Do it.
For first pick, I gotta go for the 3rd pick overall in this race draft. You got to go with the New York City Marathon. I'm gonna take it, of
Yep.
course, in marathon, and it's just I oscillate back and forth between New York and London being the greatest marathon and maybe the greatest road race in the world. I think my sentimental favorite is New York at this point. I've been there a bunch of times. I covered the race. I've run the race. It is an extraordinary experience. It is crazy that they shut down the entire city for you to just run through for a morning. And the crowds are extraordinary. The people of New York, New York is got a reputation of having like, a chiseled, like intense attitude. New Yorkers are intense, right? They're tough people. But New Yorkers love the marathon, and they are totally cool with you taking over their city and running through it with 50,000 or 55,000 of your closest running pals on a Sunday morning in November. New York City Marathon, easy pick for me. I feel like I won the draft already because I got New York. And now my next pick. So this is going to be the fourth pick. This is tougher because I'm trying to be strategic here. And I don't know about you guys, but I looked at the 5s and the 10s were not that many great 5Ks in the world like that stand out as like races that you would drop a few $1,000s on to travel to just to run the 5K, right?
I struggled with that category way more than I thought I would.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a risk here, and I'm going to hope and pray that you guys don't have one of my 5Ks on your boards because it's kind of an eccentric one. So I'm going to go 10K.
Okay.
And I'm going to pick Boulder.
Oh,
10K.
okay. Ooh, okay.
In
I looked
May.
at that. Okay. But I didn't choose it. Okay.
Third weekend in May every year. It's been run since 1979, obviously in Boulder, Colorado. One of the biggest races in North America, one of the biggest races in the world sometimes. You get like upwards of like 50, 60,000 entrants in this event. It's one of the classic American road races and finishes in the big University of Colorado football stadium, which is a cool way to finish the race. I've never actually been to Colorado. So for me, this would be like a bucket list travel event as well. Like I've been in the Denver airport, but that doesn't count.
Same.
I would probably turn it into like a little like hiking, mountain running experience afterwards. I would definitely go and hit Magnolia, the famed running route that the University of Colorado Buffalo's running team uses. I think it would be a cool experience going there. End of May, I'm picking Boulder and 10K in my 10K slot. Those are my 2 picks.
Okay.
10K was back to me, 5th overall pick. 10K was a place where I was a little bit afraid that Michael might pick mine. I don't think Katelyn will pick it.
Okay.
So I'm going to park the 10K for now. And if we're crafting a year here, I have to go with the second race that would be most important to me. So pick number 5, I'm going on a little nostalgia tour.
Okay.
2013, I've just started college. I meet the guys that would end up being my best friends, still to this day. And on one of the very first weeks that we're all living in dorms together, we turn on the live stream and we watch this race that features 3 of the best distance runners in history. Kenenisa Bekele, Haile Gebrselassie, and Mo Farah.
I'm writing down your pick already because I know exactly which one it is. Yeah.
North England, in Newcastle, half marathon. Farah's leading. Kenenisa Bekele is dropped. He catches up, passes Farah, takes the win. Obviously, I'm talking about the Great North Run, the half marathon.
Yeah.
Since then, I've been intrigued by this race just because of the memory that it created. And it's fast. This is me going to London or England again, but that's fair. The race is in September. Put a year in front of you, a goal race in April, goal race in September. I like how it is. I'm pretty confident my other races will take me elsewhere, and so I'm totally comfortable going Great North.
Great pick. You know what? I didn't put this on my list, and I can't believe I missed it. It was just a total miss for me because this is one of the great half marathons in the world. I remember the day. I remember watching that race too, Alex. That was like a special moment in elite running history for sure. And it's a heck of a fast course, from my understanding. Really well organized. Yeah. And typically one of the biggest races in the world every year now, right? It's a really big race too.
Yeah. And city of Newcastle is about 300,000 people, and it just completely lights up. When like now it's garnered this reputation. It's like a mini New York where people know what's coming. And so the city kind of stops the day of the race. And I love that feeling. So that's the pick.
Awesome. Okay.
Katelyn, you're up.
Pick number 6. And I'm going to go with the ultra event because I don't know why I have this feeling that Michael might steal this one from me. So that's why I'm going this way first. Okay. So Disney and the Dopey Challenge is probably, especially if it's a stage race and I do the whole Dopey Challenge, is going to serve as some great training for the Trans Gran Canaria Classic. which
nice one.
which is 126K at the end of February. And it's one of the toughest and scenic ultramarathons in the world. You basically cross the entire island. I think it's from north to south. You see volcanic terrain, desert, forest, coastal views. It's just supposed to be absolutely majestic. I always watch some of the feed because my girl Courtney is basically always running it, always doing a really great job there. You know, the kind of trails that I like, steep mountain trails, you know, you just run through everything that you can imagine on one island. You pass through it at some point during that race. So it's in Spain, right? Canary Islands in Spain. And also Spain is one of my favorite places to visit, to go there and be there on vacation. I've never been to the Canary Islands, but I've heard it's just absolutely gorgeous. And another plus to this race for me is that it has almost 7,000 meters of vertical gain. And I love my vertical gain. You guys know it. So it's so it's like it was a really good race for me because it's my kind of terrain. The only thing is that would be interesting is that it's a midnight start. So, so you go up the first big climb in the middle of the night. I actually think that that's helpful when you're doing something really hard at night. It kind of takes the edge off of it being difficult because you can't see very well. So you get to see, you know, and you get to see the sun come up, like the sunrise as you're going up the mountains.
You're really selling this to Alex here. I can tell. He's like, oh, it starts at midnight.
Wow. I'm so sad I didn't pick this.
If you could see, if the audience could see Alex's face right now, he is absolutely mortified. Like he's never going to do this race.
Mortified? I am disgusted.
I mean, listen, it's like, the pictures from this race are out of this world. The video is jaw-dropping. Yeah. It's such a cool-looking event. But again, it's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. That's for sure. You know what I feel, Katelyn? I feel like weirdly, the ultra marathon distance is maybe as deep or deeper than the marathon. So although that was on my list, it was on my longer list.
I knew it.
Yeah. I had it fifth. Fifth. So, I mean, I don't know why I made 5 because it's only 3 of us drafting, but yeah, I've got
just in case.
I've got a couple of ultras that are at the top of the list that one maybe somebody would have picked, but the other one I don't think so. So, all right, so that means, do you have another pick? Are we going backwards? Yeah.
Oh, so I get to go again?
You get to go again.
Okay, let me see.
Pick number 7.
Pick number 7. Okay, for pick number 7, then I'm gonna go with my 10K, which I wonder if this would be, I don't know if this would be on Alex's list. I chose We Run Rome in Rome because I felt like this would be, even though I know you're saying, you know, do a big trip for a 10K or a 5K or something, you know, that, yeah, maybe for us, they're shorter races because we're used to marathons and such and ultras, but how cool would it be to go to Italy to run this super classic 10K and run by all of these amazing landmarks, and it finishes in the Colosseum.
No, I mean, that's cool. That is cool.
I mean, come on, that would be super cool. So I chose We Run Rome because I was looking around and thought, oh, you know, you could do a ton of 10Ks everywhere, and maybe this one isn't so classic for us over here in North America, but it would be something that I would love to see. It would be awesome.
That must be cool. There's like, I'm sure that there's a whole realm of these like 5Ks and 10Ks that haven't become super public or publicized yet, that are just amazing because of the cities that they're in. Yep. And maybe they're 5 years away from popping. And I feel like maybe that's one of them that you picked. The positive is that I didn't come across that one. So no, you're not infringing on my list. Phew. And that allows me to like save my 10K for later because you guys are done with the 10s.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Is this race at the end of the year?
It is the 31st of December. So it would be like a New Year's Eve race to finish out the year and to celebrate. That also makes it really fun.
So your prep race. It's your prep race for your second go at the Dopey Challenge the following year.
Right. If I want to take it on again and get a better time. Exactly. So it'll be a nice way to end the year in Rome on the 31st of December.
All right, Mr. Sear, you're up next.
For the 8th overall pick of the 2025 race draft, Team Sear reluctantly selects the vertical kilometer challenge in Chamonix.
Okay.
That
So where
was so
you're
close. You almost stole something from me.
you put that in wild card? Is that where we're putting this?
I'm putting this in ultra.
Okay. Yeah, well, that we'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Yes, excellent.
It's
Okay.
the shortest ultra ever. We'll say ultra trail. We'll put it.
Well, I was
we'll just
disappointed because
slab.
when I saw it was 1 kilometer, I thought that was the distance, but that's the
No.
vertical.
No, that's the
Actually, I have
vertical
to run.
gain.
Yeah.
It's 3.8 kilometers, so
Mhm.
a little disappointing, but I think I can hack it. You know,
Yeah.
I like the timing of it because there's something I really want to do afterwards that I will not disclose yet, and I know you won't pick it, but I know I can't disclose it, and I think it times itself well with the other events that I have in the year. And I think that as far as ultras go, I would be good at this challenge. I think it's going to be hard as hell, but I would do it. So I actually got to do some ultra stuff last September. I was in the Alps for 4 days, and we do these long runs all day. And what I gathered as I ran with one retired professional ultra athlete was that I can't go downhill, but I'm good at the uphills.
Oh, there you go. Then this would be
I'm good at the
perfect.
uphills. Yeah, I'm good at the uphills. I've used to be a hockey player, then I became a miler. Like I'm good at the power side. It's the technical side that I really don't get. So the vertical K seems like you don't have to use your hands too much. I don't like using my hands when I'm running. It's weird. So I
Okay.
couldn't think of a better one, and that's the one that I'm afraid that someone might pick, or at least something related to that.
UTMB is off the board now, right?
Yes.
Because that's the UTMB festival
Oh
weekend.
wow, that's a clever move.
Yeah, that
That's
was a
clever
really good move. So it's August, right, Alex?
I think it's actually in
This
June.
one's before. It's in June.
Oh, June. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've done this. I have done the vertical challenge. I have not in Chamonix. I have not run it on the date where they have the event because there is a formal event.
Okay.
But you can go. There's a marker in town where you start, and
Oh.
obviously the end is the top of the mountain. And my wife and I did it, and it was the most bananas, terrifying thing because I don't like heights. And the last couple hundred meters is like low grade mountain climbing. Like you're doing handholds. It's like there's like a rating, like climbing has like a rating system for like the degree of difficulty of the climb, like 5 point whatever. Is the scale or the system. It has like a low grade rating at the very end. So you like shift from running to kind of scrambling, hand holding to like straight up actually kind of doing some light mountain climbing at the very end, which I don't recommend looking down if you don't like heights in that last
Oh
stage.
no. Yeah, so I guess you would have to use your hands, Alex. So wear gloves. Gloves for the rocks.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
pick's already made.
Yeah. And it's so a vertical kilometer is it has to ascend 1,000 meters of vert
Mhm.
within 5K or less. So this is actually a
Very steep.
particularly brutal vertical kilometer because it's 3.8K.
Yeah, that
So
is insane. That's in a very short distance.
going up a mountain.
I've run a bunch of vertical kilometers. I love them. I love
they're
running
cool.
vertical kilometers. Yeah, they're really fun.
All right. So I have 2 picks in a row now, don't
Yeah.
I?
Back to you, Michael.
Ooh. Decision here. What do I do? So I've got the marathon off the board. I've got the 10K off the board.
Yeah.
What am I going to do next here? I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ultra.
Okay.
I'm not going to be a chicken like Alex and pick a pretend ultra that's only 3.8 kilometers long.
It's trail. It's not ultra, but we'll give it to you. It's
I'm going to I can't pick my number one pick because it conflicts with my 10K, which
Oh, okay.
some bad decision making on my part. I can't be 2 places at once in the same weekend on opposite sides of the world, unfortunately. So instead, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I am going to select the Barkley Marathons for my ultra because
knew that
I
was
gonna come
hate
up.
myself,
Run it?
apparently. Yep. To run it.
You
'Cause-
just stole something from me. Not to run
Because
it.
you know what?
The Barkley.
Why the hell not? Right?
You're crazy.
I've been to the event a couple of times to cover it. I've run parts of the course. It is brutal. It is the most romanticized race I'd say in the world, that once you get there is the most unromantic experience because you're like sleeping in a tent in a little campground in a state park. It's cold, it's gloomy, it's usually rainy or windy because it's April. It's always around, of course, April Fool's Day, April 1st, although you never really know exactly when it's going to be. If you've been living under a rock and are a runner and don't know about the Barkley Marathons, it's marathons plural because it's roughly 100 miles. It's you get 60 hours. You got to run these loops of a course, 5 20-ish mile loops, although I think nobody ever gets under, let's say, 170K because you are always going to get a little lost. You got to figure your own way out. You don't get to use a GPS watch. You've got to orienteer your way through the madness. You got to collect pages in a book in order to prove that you've done the various checkpoints. You've got to get in under a certain cutoff for each loop. And the whole premise of the race, this diabolical race created by this madman named Lazarus Lake, is that it's designed to be just hard enough that nobody finishes it every year. So there's only been a handful of people that have ever finished it in history. I have zero belief that I would ever be able to finish this race, but just the honor of being able to go out there and hack and slash away for hopefully 2 laps, maybe 3, which they call the fun run.
The fun run.
Would be an honor and a privilege. And I just loved the experience. I fell in love with the event. It's, I think I was saying to you guys, I was saying to you, Alex, at some point over the last weekend, that I think that Lazarus Lake, who concocted this idea, is kind of like Herman Melville. He's like a great American author. And instead of Moby Dick, he has created the Barkley Marathons. Yes. It is like extraordinary storytelling. And the narrative changes with each year. And this guy knows how to play a primary character or an antagonist in this drama that he puts his runners through. Yeah, so that's my pick. It's also ultra exclusive, super hard to get in.
Yep.
Very bizarre application process.
Yeah, you need an invitation, right? Okay, so Laz Lake, if you're listening
to us,
I think this warrants an invitation.
He once said to me when I was covering the race, he said to me, because he knew that I was primarily a road runner, he was like, you should come run this event one year, see how you do. And I was just like, dude, don't put it in my mind. But yeah, we'll see. TBD on whether or not I ever submit my application form. And I think it's like $1.60 or something you've got to put in with your application form. You got to bring a pair of clean socks and a pack of cigarettes for them.
And a license plate.
And a license plate from the state or province, in my case, where you're from. There's all these sorts of rituals. It's an incredible event.
And the race starts when he lights a cigarette.
That's right.
Yeah.
It starts when the man smokes his first of many cigarettes over the course of a 60-hour period.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've put myself through the Barkley in late March, early April, depending on the year it starts. What else am I going to pick here? So for the follow-up pick, because I got another pick right after this. Oh, that's really spring heavy if I go with that one. That's like a lot of running. I am going to select you guys both have a half marathon already?
Nope.
I do.
Oh, you do. Okay. I'm gonna play with fire and leave the half marathon open.
Okay.
I got a couple of races and a half I like the look of. I'm going to go with the 5K. I'm going to go a little off the board here. And I'm going to pick the Suzuki Midnight Run in Reykjavik, Iceland.
Oh, God. Okay.
Would you see the Northern Lights?
Summer solstice? No, it's the opposite. You see daylight.
Okay.
Summer solstice, June 19th this year.
June 19th.
The event goes down. It's a night race. It starts, I think, after 9 p.m. So at that hour, it's still light. So it's there's no nighttime at that stage in Iceland. It finishes in front of the natural springs and the hot baths that they have there. So you can have a nice little hot, cold plunge at the end of the race. It looks like a super good time. Great party. Looks very well organized. There's a DJ. And Iceland's cool. I want to go. I've never been. My wife's been. Alex has been. I know. Iceland's awesome. Yeah. So.
And you can go and celebrate your birthday.
and
Oh,
it's on my birthday, and I always like to do something fun and seemingly running related on my birthday. So there's my pick. I think I probably went off the board with that one. I don't know if either of you had that even on your long list, but the
No.
Suzuki Midnight Run, June 19th in Iceland.
Okay. Now I have to go next with the spectating event because
Okay.
I
okay.
fear that maybe one of you would choose it. This has been a long-standing bucket list item for me, and things never lined up. And I don't know if I could do this inside of the rules because I haven't necessarily picked a year to do it. It's just an event that happens every year, or every second year rather.
Okay.
I want to go and buy like all-inclusive tickets, no matter how much money they are. I want to splurge on this and go to a World Athletics Championship at some point. Oregon in 2022 would have been perfect because it's in the historic part of where Nike originated and Steve Prefontaine and Hayward Field. However, I was working for the event, but I had to do it from a distance. It was really, really strange. I'd never made it. I want to go in one of these years, but I don't know when to do it. So this year would be super cool to do, but I would need to get my shit together because they're in Tokyo and they're in a few months. I would love that. Next year, they're in Beijing, which I think would be a lot more complicated logistically to get there. So I still don't have a plan for when I'm going to do it, but I want to do that and just follow every single race. Get super into like the 400-meter hurdles, and then obviously follow the 1500, the 5000, the hundreds. So much to see. It's like a bachelor party event or some type of rekindling with friends event. I want that at some point in my future. So a World Athletics Championship, can I go with that?
It was on my list. It was on your list.
So list.
There you go. Yeah. And I was going to go the whole enchilada as well. I was going to say like every event, full pass, just living at the World Championships for the week straight or whatever. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then, bookended by the marathons. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Great pick. Damn it.
Yeah, that's.
Although I feel like I'm encroaching on your list here.
A little bit. We've got, unsurprisingly, Alex, we've got some overlap. We have similar racing tastes, shall I say? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Am I next?
You're next.
Okay.
You got 2 picks.
Alex, you scared the bejesus out of me when you chose your 5K because I thought you were going to steal my race, and I could not believe it because this one I was leaving for the end because I thought no one would ever choose it. I'm going with the 5K, and I chose Zegama, which is a vertical kilometer.
Yeah.
So can you imagine you saying, and there's the 5K, the vertical kilometer of, and I was like, oh my God, Zegama is like one of the most famous. He's going to totally steal my race. You did not. However, It was close. So Zegama is another vertical kilometer. This one is 5K. It's not the 3 point. So it's a little more forgiving, even though not much. It's an extremely muddy, rocky, tricky terrain. Probably have to use your hands to pull up on some rocks there as well because it's such a hard vertical kilometer. But the crowd support is literally Tour de France style. Like there are people lined the entire 5K on either side that you can barely get through. As I've been watching this event year after year, the runners really have to, of course they leave them space to pass, but that is the quantity of people there cheering you on and screaming in your face for the whole 5 kilometers seems exhilarating to me. I would love to be there and have that constant support the entire race. So this is in Spain, and the average gradient is 19.5%, and there are some spots that get up to 30%. Now, fun fact, my running club here in Costa Rica, the name is in Spanish, but it's 30 degrees. And the reason why we put 30 degrees is because usually when you're trail running, once you hit an incline of 30 degrees, that's when you're almost like scrambling. Now you have to pretty much use your hands to help you get up. And that's the reason why we named our trail running club 30 degrees. So anyway, just a little fun fact there. So insane fan support. I want to go to Zegama.
When does it happen?
It is, I do have that here, May 23rd. So after the week. Oh, no. No, I'm still good. I'm still good. Nothing is even getting close to getting in the way.
You've got
May
a nice
23rd.
nice little dance card thus far. I would like to point out that for his ultra, Alex picked a 3.8 kilometer vertical kilometer race. And then for her 5K, Katelyn picked a true 5K that's also a vertical kilometer. There is the disparate values of our crew here. And I'm stuck in the middle between you two maniacs. I like that one. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Do you? I'm getting lost in the weeds here. You have another pick now, right? Yeah. You do.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, okay. So let me continue. Now the race to spectate. You stole it from me, Michael. So I'm just going to leave it for later. It was Barkley. So I'm going to leave. So I'm going to leave it. You know what?
That's a good spectator pick, by the way.
Yeah.
To see what it's like.
I'll crew you. When you run
there
it,
you go.
I'll crew you. So I'll get to see it, but now it can't be on my list. So I'm going to leave that because I got to figure out what I want to do there.
Nice. I can't wait to follow along all the Slack.
Michael runs Barkley Slack channel in our team Slack. Yeah,
from the comfort of my condo, and have fun.
You'll be there, and I'll be the one updating the status.
He's throwing up again. All of his toenails fell off. He doesn't know who he is or where he is. But he wants to go back out and do another loop. He just doesn't know.
I'm going to let him go. That's the ultra mindset. I will let you go and I will cheer you on. As long as there's no health issues, I'll cheer you on. Okay. So my next pick, I'm going to go with a half marathon. And I don't think you guys are going to steal this one. I don't think you're going to steal it from me. I don't think so. Because it's a very Katelyn, I think, half marathon. I want to do the Napa to Sonoma wine country half marathon.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
First of all, because it looks beautiful, through vineyards and afterward, obviously, there's a wine festival. So how fun would that be? So a super beautiful course, run a great half marathon in California, which I just went to the first time this year. I loved it. I thought it was gorgeous. And Napa's supposed to be great. So I think that would be really fun for me and to enjoy the wine festival after. So that wasn't yours, I'm sure, Michael. So you didn't have to worry.
It was on my long list.
It was
my short list. Yes. And the reason why is my wife and I spent our honeymoon hanging around in California. We spent some time in Napa, in Sonoma. Beautiful wine country in California is amazing.
Great.
I love California wine, even though I know with Trump's tariffs, we're not supposed to say we like American products anymore, Alex, because we're Canadian. But God damn it, I'm gonna buy a California wine because it's good. Oregon wine's pretty good too. So that'd be a cool, and it's just such a beautiful part of the world. For running, it's an incredible part of the world.
I would love to be there. And it's July 20th. So it also doesn't get in the way of anything, really. It would be a couple months after my vertical kilometer. So everything's working out pretty well so far.
Okay.
Back to Alex.
Back to me.
Yep.
So this is going to be pick 5. I will use this race as a tune-up to my London Marathon.
Oh, okay.
And full disclosure, this one was front and top of mind because I'm strongly considering actually doing it this month.
Oh.
And it's part of the McCurdy's race weekend, the McCurdy's micro races, the 10K. Yes. Now, this one is
explain what McCurdy's is for those listening who don't know what McCurdy's is, because it's an interesting kind of wacky event series.
Yeah, it's like it's a startup race. You have a couple different distances. It happens in Rockland State Park in New York, just outside New York City, and it's conceived for people who want to go fast. It's not elite only, but you go there to run quickly. And so there's a 10K, there's a half, and there's a full, and they have little built-in things that can help you run faster. So for example, everyone who signs up, if they want, can get bottle service throughout the race, which is super hard to get. If you're in a big race, you don't get bottles, right? And they have the tangent lines. So if you pay attention, you can actually run a proper 10K or half or full. Because you might relate to this. Like if you do a major marathon or a half marathon and then you upload it to Strava and you look at the distance, and you say, oh, geez, I ran 100, 200 meters more than usual. It's because you didn't take the perfect tangent. Almost nobody does. It's hard to know what it is while you're racing.
Right.
But this one has a line for you to follow if you're really anal about time, if you want a fast time. And for 10K, that's where I am right now, because I set myself this big goal of breaking 30 minutes for 10K before I turn 30 in August. And my time is running out. I'm like, I think I have 5 months to do it. And this seems like one of the best races to do it. Full disclosure, I'm trying to figure out who else is doing this race to make sure that I have some competition ahead of me. That's what's happening right now. But it's a race I want to do someday, if not for the 10 this year, for the half or the full. But I'm going to pick it for my 10. It's in March. Fits in well with the rest of my schedule.
So if you're listening or watching and you just happen to run a high 29 or low 30-minute 10K, the hundreds of people that listen to our podcast that can run in that pace.
Help Alex
is looking for a friend to run.
Needs a pacer over there.
That's
Seriously, send me a message, please.
I'd do it for you, but I just won't be able to get there.
You can't get, no flights?
Yeah, sorry.
Busy that weekend.
I would have loved to.
Shoot.
I could run one of those kilometers with you. I get you started, and then just hang out, get myself a couple of beers, sit in a lawn chair, cheer you on. Yeah, we could do that.
Join back in for 10K if that were allowed.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so I got 2 picks. Okay, so what do I have left here? I have half wild card and spectator left. Oh man. Okay, so you've both picked half, right?
Yes.
Okay, I will go. So strategically speaking, I should focus on wild card and spectator event then, because I got 2 picks. Okay, so first one I'm going to pick is wild card.
Okay.
And I had a tough time with this. I started just listing off races, and I was just like, oh my God, there's like so many races I want to do, which leads me to think that like if this pod is successful, or even if it's just so and we've had fun doing it, which I think we've had a good time.
Yep.
I think we should be doing other specific race drafts down the line, so I get to vamp about some of these other races in my long list of wildcard events, because there's a lot of really cool like odd distance events and weird concept events that I'm attracted to. But the big one I'm going to go for, this is like picking between children here. I am going to go for the Mount Marathon race in Seward, Alaska. Have you ever heard of this event?
No, but I want to know all about it.
This is a psycho event. This is like...
is this the Godspeed You Black Emperor event?
This is it. This is
or was that the Iceland 5K?
They're kind of all like, I'm going way off the board in a lot of these things here. This one is like... This race has been going on this year will be its 97th running of the event. It's been going on for 100 years, basically, in this small kind of, I think, fishing community in Alaska. And it's a psycho race. It's like a concentrated version of the Barkley. It's called the Mount Marathon race, but it's only 3.1 miles. So it's just shy of a 5K, but it's 3,022 feet up, 3,022 feet straight back down. You run up and down a mountain that's called Mount Marathon. So 100 years ago, someone was like, this thing's called Marathon. Let's run up and down it. And it's psychotic. Like, a guy disappeared one year. Kilian Jornet ran it in 2015.
Oh, wow.
It is one of these sort of like, I know that the moniker for the Barkley is it's the race that eats its young. This is like the short form version of that, the concentrated version of that. It happens on the 4th of July every single year. There is a lottery to get in. It's extremely hard to get into this race. It's very sort of exclusive in that respect. There's instructions on the website for the race on like how to crab walk while facing forward down the side of the mountain in certain circumstances.
Oh boy. Okay.
It is wild. People regularly fall and do crazy tumbles. It is, there is a waterfall route you could take. So it's one of these like choose your own adventure type races where it's like, yeah, you can go down the waterfall version, but you have to be considered an expert and you have to like have like, I think it's a stamp on your bib to be allowed to take that route. Otherwise you've got to take the classic route. And another cool feature is, for safety purposes, every single entrant in the race has to prove that they have run the route in advance of actually running the race. So like when you get there on the weekend to run, or on the 4th of July, the day before, you got to get there a day before, you got to run the course the day before.
The whole thing?
Yeah. You got to do it on your own the day before to prove that you know it and that you can handle it.
So you run the course and then you run the course again.
You run the course like the day before or 2 days before. You basically, you sign like basically an affidavit before you pick up your race bib, where it's like, I swear I have run the full course and was able to complete it. So give me the bib so I can run the race.
If you've like done it years ago, can you use that as your proof? Or can you?
I think so. I think if you're a prior entrant in the race, that's proof enough. Although maybe not, I'm not sure. But
wow,
yeah, it is a wild, crazy event. I think they even live stream it now because it's kind of grown, and it's definitely a cult event for sure. Mostly ultra trail type runners that run it, that do very well. So some notable, Katelyn, if you go back through the history of the winners, you'll recognize some familiar faces of people who've won it. And then obviously when you get back into like the 80s, 70s and before, it's just like weird locals that won the race. So
if you're talking about crab walking, this isn't a race where you just pound your quads on the way down. Is it just incredibly technical and tricky to?
Oh, you do it all. You do it all. You pound your quads in parts of the way down.
And then you have to, okay.
When you're like de-summiting at the very top, you have to like basically scramble and roll to get down to a runnable point again.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a wild event. And Alaska is a cool part of the world for running. I've done a little running in Alaska and it's a lot of fun. And it's on July 4th, so it fits nicely in my sked.
Okay.
Because I was getting a little dangerously spring heavy here. Okay. Spectator. Because I'm going to leave the half open because it's protected, because you've both already selected your halves.
Unless I choose it for my wild card or I choose it to spectate.
I'm pivoting back. I'm going to half marathon.
I don't know.
I am going to select. I really want to take another race, but it doesn't fit in my schedule, and I'm going to stay true to the concept.
Okay.
So I'm going to take, for half marathon, I'm going to take the Barcelona half.
Oh, nice.
That was my number 2.
Oh,
Barcelona half. World record recently run by Jacob Kiplimo on that course, so clearly it's fast. It's in February. Barcelona is an incredible city to visit, so it'll be a fun trip for the whole family. Get some of my culture in while I'm there, maybe spend a week or two, maybe take the train up and see our colleagues Jesse and Thomas in their respective spots in Spain, because 2 of our teammates live in Spain, which would be fun to visit them. Just be an amazing event. And of course, like what better prep for the Barkley Marathons in April than running an incredibly hard, fast, personal best half marathon in February to show my fitness. So not a perfect fit, but good enough. I'm going to be,
It's you know what I liked about it? It's a really good time to escape Canada as well.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
I love February trips.
Yeah.
All right. So those are my 2 picks. I've got spectator event left, and I'll pivot back to you, Alex. You got the next pick.
Okay. So left for me are my wild card and my 5K.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wild card 5K. I am so convinced that neither of you will touch my 5K that I'm actually going to go with my wild card. I don't think either of you would take this one either. But this is actually weirdly at the very top of my list. I just was confident that it wouldn't be touched. So as soon as I started dating my now fiance Alexis, who now features on the channel every now and then. So if you're a religious watcher of our YouTube channel, you know exactly who I'm talking about. And I told her and her family that I was a runner. They all had the same answer. The family comes from Tanzania, and there's a very famous race in Tanzania, which is incidentally called the Kilimanjaro Marathon.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It's a marathon, not up Kilimanjaro. That would be insane. But it's on the foothills. And so it's still pretty hilly. And it starts and finishes in this mountainside town called Moshi, which is where her mother is from.
Oh, neat.
And so one day in the near future, we want to do a Tanzania trip, kind of a home trip for her, because she's only been once in her life.
Wow.
And while there, all of her cousins want me to run the Kilimanjaro marathon. I'm actually super scared of it because it's usually won by an East African, obviously, followed by another 50 East Africans.
Yes.
And in some years, none of them break 220. And something tells me that on a flat course, they're faster than 220 for the marathon.
Right.
So I'm guessing this is going to be me going to see my fiance's family and be like, yeah, I'd love to break 220. I'm a 216 marathoner by then, perhaps. And I go there and I run like 245.
There's got to be something with the course for those, unless everyone's just going out for a jog, or
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Or there's something really tricky about that course that we need to look into, figure out what's going on.
Well, it's hilly and it's hilly and it's warm.
Yeah.
It happens in February, which is again a good reason for leaving, and that's probably when we would want to go.
Yeah.
But still, they see really high temperatures at that point.
Okay.
And so there's a whole party at the end. There's like beers and a DJ, and people hang out outside. So it's going to have summer vibes to it. And so I'm guessing it's really hot, and it's hilly. It's a tough marathon, and you're at some level of elevation as well because you're climbing the little foothills around Kilimanjaro.
This is a curious turn of events, Katelyn. Our boy Alex here, who is yet to run a marathon, has just selected a marathon for his wildcard event.
Yeah.
He didn't pad his schedule with another 10K or a 5K.
I'm noticing this.
Or some weird track race he wants to do. He didn't insert himself in the 10,000 meter final in the LA Olympics. He instead went for like a sentimental pick and a marathon. So he's willing to suffer a little bit in order to make the family happy. I like that.
I love to suffer. I just don't like using my hands or landing on uneven footing.
Well, I think that Alex has never mentioned to us on such a clear timeline when he wants to run the marathon. And today he said in the next year or two. I just want to say, I wasn't going to interrupt you, but I like wrote that down, time stamped that today Alex said within a year or two. And he also even put a time on the marathon. Wow. Those are some big predictions. I love it.
When is the Kilimanjaro marathon?
February.
It's in February. Okay.
You have almost a year.
There you go.
Yeah, it won't be next year.
It's that you're putting yourself in a tough position with a February marathon and then a 10K in March. That's
I'm
tough recovery.
I think what would end up happening is I would take the Kilimanjaro marathon as an easier run. I wouldn't try to destroy myself, a training run, and then March is the McCurdy's 10K. London in April. It would all be to build up for London.
That's the big show, London.
Yes.
So you're doing the you're pissing off your coach by running the marathon in training.
Yeah. I am.
Over distance.
Yes. Before ever running another marathon, maybe.
First marathon is a training run. I love it.
I just plan to not tell him.
Yeah.
There you go. He just heard
he won't
that.
know. He won't get this far into the podcast. You're safe. You're safe.
Are you kidding? Of course he will.
Yeah. He does. He sends me he texts me sometimes and chirps one of us on something that happened 70 minutes into a podcast. So he definitely does listen. Shout out to John. Okay. So Katelyn, you're next, right? You've got one left.
I have two left because I have the wild card
you got two.
And the race to spectate. So I do them both in a row, I guess. So,
okay, go.
My wild card race that I think Michael knew I was going to choose, but I didn't think you guys would choose it, is I want to do the Mount Washington road race.
Yeah, it's on my list. Yeah.
That's on your list, which is June 14th. And actually, now that it's funny that Alex just gave sort of a sentimental reason for a race, because this one for me is that one of my mom's like biggest wishes in her life is that she wanted to climb Mount Washington. And she was trying to plan it, and we were trying to plan it, and she was ill and she couldn't do it, and she didn't have the energy to do it. So she never got to climb Mount Washington. And it was just her big dream. So I figure, what a better way to climb Mount Washington in her honor and do it, and think of her while I do it, than run the Mount Washington road race. Because again, I'm seeing a pattern with my picks. It's an only uphill race. It's an uphill race again. So you go uphill for 7.6 miles, which is a little over 12 kilometers. And it has about a little under 1,500, like 1,400 meters of vertical gain. Why not? Just add it on. And it goes from like 12% average incline to 22% max incline. So I feel, another hard one. And the only thing that would be a little tricky for me, I think, is the weather, because at the bottom of the race, it can be really nice, beautiful weather, nice and sunny. This is on June 14th. So, we're almost in the summer months. However, once you get to the top, and I watched a bunch of videos, it was like completely covered with fog, raining, cold. People had gloves on, like long, hats on. So I feel like the weather, the temperature change is going to be a little tricky, but it's something that I really want to do. So I feel like, that's my wild card. Have either of you guys done that one? You haven't done that, Michael, right? You just know about it. Yeah.
It's hard to get in.
Yeah.
It's, I believe, a lottery. It's an application form. And I had one year where I lined it up with the race director, and he gave me an invite, and I was not able to make it. And I regret that. It's one of my few running regrets. I regret not jumping on the opportunity when it was in front of me.
Well, maybe we can do it. Maybe we can get in at some point together and go.
Yeah, I would love to do it. Absolutely. New Hampshire's a great part of the world. Like the White Mountains, very cool. Very cool. Be very fun to do. And you've got two picks.
Yep.
You've got two picks, right?
Yeah, I just have the race to spectate. And since Michael stole the Barkley Marathons, which is the race that I wanted to spectate, I had a couple others on my list, but I'm doing a last minute change thanks to Alex's pick for race to spectate. You kind of sparked something in me that I didn't even think about, because I was just thinking about like one-time races, thinking about a lot of trail races, thinking about the excitement of Barkley or something a little crazy. And so now all of my races have to get pushed forward to 2028, because there is nothing more exciting to me now that I think about it than to go watch the track section of the Olympics.
You took my pick.
I took your pick. There is nothing cooler than going. I mean, of course, after watching both seasons of sprint, and we covered the Paris Olympics. We were so into it. You guys got me so hooked and so nerding out on all of those track races that now I'm like, oh, Ingebrigtsen is going to race. I make sure that I have it on. Grant's going to race. I'm going to have it on. Like Hawker's going to race. I love watching these guys and gals just kill it on the track. So I would say that would be amazing to go to the LA Olympics and watch track. Sorry, I stole it from you, Michael, but you stole mine. So.
That was my number one pick. And I was surprised Alex went World Athletics instead of the Olympics, but I guess like World Athletics is like, it's pure. It's just like, it's all track and the two road events, and that's it.
Two reasons I did that. One is there are no Olympics until 2028, which I guess it feels like a long time, although LA in 2028 would be awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
And the other thing, and I don't know if this is even real or if it's just in my head, but I feel like it's harder logistically maybe to figure the Olympics out because there's so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like other sports. Whereas World Athletics, I feel like there must be the existence of this all access World Athletics pass. And there probably isn't the existence of the all inclusive Olympics pass. It's probably super expensive. So I went World Athletics, but obviously the Olympics would be amazing.
So that's my calendar, guys. I'm done. That's all of them.
Good.
That's you.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. And the Olympics would be end of July, early August. Is that usually when it fits in there? Yeah.
Yes, I had it. It would be, exactly. I have July 14th to July 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 2028.
July. Okay. And that doesn't and your Napa race is when again? Your Napa half marathon, is that in June?
Oh no, July
They have a
20th.
conflict.
Oh
Oh no, what
no.
do we can allow it. We can allow it. It just means you're gonna have to skip out for
I
you're
mean,
just
I'll
gonna have
be
to show up
there.
late.
Yeah,
There you go.
I just have to get up early, go do the marathon, skip the
Yeah.
wine, and come right and drive back to LA.
You're just gonna be mega hung. Oh, you're gonna be close by. You're just gonna be
Yeah.
mega hungover, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have to zip down the Pacific Coast Highway. Nice little drive, Pacific
Yeah.
Coast Highway down to LA. There
Oof,
you go.
that was close. I'll be right
Beautiful
there. It'll be
drive.
fine.
Oof. All right, that's good scheduling. Actually, good planning. Just one flight for you.
Right.
It's good.
There you go.
Yeah.
Totally
Okay.
planned that.
Alex, you got a 5K left?
I have a 5K left. My pick's kind of silly. So I got cornered a little with my own scheduling, and there was a race I really wanted to pick, but I realized I'm too spring heavy. And it's like planning a lot of hangouts with your friends for like 3 months in advance, and then you get to that time, and you're like, why did I plan 2 separate hangouts on a Thursday? This makes no sense. I have work to do, so I'm afraid of getting in this scenario. So right now, my schedule is I have a race in February, March, April, June, September. There's no 5K I want to do in the winter. It leaves July. I'm choosing. Some people will not be allowed to do this one. I'm choosing the Canadian Track and Field Championships to race my 5K.
Oh, it's like a protected pick for you.
Yes, because if you're an American, you can't, like Katelyn cannot do this. The reason I'm choosing it is I've been to many Canadian championships. I've never raced them. I've always covered them or I've watched them. For the longest time, I didn't feel like I was fast enough to compete in them. Okay. You need to qualify. Well, if you don't have a certain time, you need to run a preliminary round and then get into the final. I was never interested in doing that. This year, I have a slight goal of trying to run a really fast 5K before these championships that would get me into the final. And a national final would be really awesome. So that's something that I would want to do. Maybe this year, maybe next year, and just mix it up. I would probably get lapped once I get there. But the experience would be neat. That's okay.
When is it?
Late July.
July. And where is it this year?
Ottawa, the nation's capital.
The city that always sleeps.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's a beautiful city. It's technically beautiful. Okay. So last pick in the draft. I'm batting clean up here. I've got my spectator event. Katelyn stole my idea. Which, listen, it's the Olympics. I was expecting it to be one of the first picks to go off the board. So instead I got to pivot. I can't pick UTMB, can I? Because UTMB falls under the umbrella of the vertical kit.
Yeah, that was also on my spectator list. That was on my list as well.
Because there's like UTMB, nothing better than going as a spectator. You can run around in that, Alex and I have both done. Katelyn, have you ever gone and run some of the UTMB course before?
No.
Have you ever been to the Alps before?
I have not.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible running. There's the refugios. You can stay. You can hike. It'd be a very cool experience to go and kind of soak that all up without the responsibility of having to run like over 100 miles. So, instead, I'm torn between a few different events. One of them for scheduling purposes. 2 of them for scheduling purposes I cannot select. I just wouldn't be honest because I don't have a private jet. So I will instead select, let me just make sure that my schedule allows for it. April, November. Yeah, I'm going to hop on a plane. I'm going to go to Berlin in September. I'm going to watch the Berlin Marathon as a fan of running.
Okay.
All right.
Oktoberfest is right after.
Yes.
So see my thinking here?
Can hang out for an extra week. Yeah.
Watch the Berlin Marathon, take in the elite race, maybe buy myself a seat in the bleachers, take that all in, maybe see a world record, perhaps some of the best runners in the world. And then I'll slip down to Munich and I'll go Oktoberfest afterwards and maybe tour around Germany a little bit. See some of my ancestry the locations of where some of my ancestry lived way back in the day. So there we go.
That sounds like a good plan.
Technical question about watching the Berlin Marathon. You've been at the end of these races before.
Yeah.
Do they have like a TV? Like, did they show
They
the
do.
live stream? Okay, that's really cool.
It depends on the race, but yes, they do. They usually have like a big, like in the case of Boston, actually, with a few hundred meters to go, they have this gigantic LED screen that you see like the finishers coming through, which is cool. In London, they had screens along the chute where you could kind of watch the race as well, and you could watch, and it would cut back. It was showing the world feed. Like my kid and I sat in like the box seats in the finishing chute in London, and we watched like the elite race while we were waiting for my wife to come in and finish. So it was very cool. Very nice.
Nice.
Except
that'll be fun.
you're out in the cold, but yeah. But Berlin, September. Hopefully I catch a beautiful day. There you go. That's my list. Okay. So draft is done. Let's recap here. Before we go into some missed opportunities that we might be second guessing ourselves over here. Some honorable mentions. So Alex, do you have your list in front of you, or do you want me to do it?
The list of races that I selected?
Yes.
I think I can do it.
Do it.
I have my wild card is my first race, so the Kilimanjaro Marathon in February. The 10K McCurdy Micro Race in March. The London Marathon in April. Okay, this is harder than expected. The vertical
June.
The vertical K, that's in June. The 5,000 meter championships, the Canadian 5,000 meter champs in July. The Bupa, or actually, no, it's not Bupa. That was used to be the sponsor. In my head, it's called the Bupa Great North Run. The Great North Run, I guess is what it's called now, in September. And my spectator event is a World Athletics Championship that I would take in likely in August. That's usually when that is.
It is now the A.J. Bell Great North Run.
Apologies to A.J. Bell.
All right, Caitlin, do you have your list in
I
front
have
of you?
my rundown, and I have it in chronological order to go. Let's see.
Oh, jeez, I gotta do that
So I would start the year in January with the Walt Disney Marathon, hopefully the Dopey Challenge. That would be a great warm-up for the Transgran Canaria Classic, 126 kilometers in the end of February. Then I've got my 5K in Zegama on May 23rd, or somewhere, May 23rd this year. My wild card would come next, which would be the Mount Washington Road Race, which is June 14th. Then I would run the half marathon in Napa to Sonoma while jumping back and forth to watch the LA Olympics.
You could drive up and down the coast. And just catch some events.
That is great planning.
That would be amazing. And
it's a good idea.
To end the year, my 10K in Rome on December 31st.
What a way to finish the year. She goes to Rome for a little Christmas Roman holiday. I love that.
I would love it. This is like my perfect year.
You did well.
Yeah,
you did well.
I'm excited about my picks.
Good travel destinations.
Yeah.
Except for like the psychosis of wanting to like use a 5K, 10K, half marathon in a weekend to prep for a 100-miler. That's madness. You have a different idea of fun, Caitlin. Okay, so for mine, let me see if I can do this in order here.
Okay.
My year starts in February in Barcelona for the half marathon, world record course, going for a personal best. I'm coming in trained. So that's like a race for running fast, but also incredible destination race as well. Okay. So then after that, I'm doing April, following that up with just rolling into that speed fitness. I'm going to take that over to Tennessee, to the backwoods of Tennessee, to run the Barkley Marathons.
To walk the Barkley Marathons.
100-ish miler race. Caitlin will be there to
wipe your tears.
Wipe my tears away for me. Exactly. Yep. Yes, among other fluids. Hopefully not blood. Yes, but probably some blood. So that's the big event of the spring for me. Yikes. And then followed by May, I'm just going to somehow like pull my shit together in May and run the 10K Boulder, which is not an easy 10K to run in Colorado, and get the like running nerd experience I've always wanted being in Boulder, Colorado. And then June, I'm going to jump on a flight to Reykjavik. a 5K midnight race, the Suzuki 5K race that actually starts at around 9 p.m. July, in my wild card, I selected the Mount Marathon race, which is actually only around 4 kilometers, but it's basically up and down the craziest mountain in Alaska on the 4th of July. And then what do I have after that? Oh, spectator event. Taking some time off, focusing on my training for my fall marathon, going to Berlin for a little 1 week, low mileage week where I'm going to watch the Berlin Marathon and drink some wonderful beers at Oktoberfest. Then I'm going to get my act together again. I'm going to finish off my year in November for the New York City Marathon, where I'm running a personal best at age 45, guys. It's going to happen.
I love it. Wow. Yep.
So Alex's list
in New York.
Alex's list makes you fast, I think. Katelyn's list makes you worldly, and Michael's list leaves you injured
Weird.
and potentially drunk.
That's correct. This all seems fitting, right? And there are themes for each of our lists. I can see Katelyn has got a lot of elevation.
Yes.
In her list. Yes. Elevation mixed with like good times.
Yeah, with fun. Exactly. I would say I chose mine based on I want to go have a really good time too.
So first question, is there any event that either of us have that you don't have that you're jealous about? Alex first.
You know what? I actually think that Reykjavik 5K that you picked, Michael, would be
Looks
super cool. Because when I was in Iceland, it was April, and already then the days were super long, and it was such a vibe. Because people would go out at 9 p.m. and hang out outdoors for almost 3 hours. And so even deeper into basically on solstice, you get so much light. And I think it'd be an awesome time to go. The hot springs are awesome. I think that's the one. And then also I just kind of second guess, like, why did I not just go with the Olympics instead of the World Athletics Championships? Well, I don't know.
I was wondering about that, but you know what? You're a purist, and that's the more concentrated form, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It takes less time.
Okay. Katelyn, did you have any that like jump out there? You're like, damn, I wish I had that.
Well, even though it would be a third race in Spain, I should just go there for half the year. When you said the Barcelona half, I was like, oh yeah, going to Barcelona would be so amazing. And it would actually be a race where I could work on some speed, because I don't know if I chose any for speed throughout this year. So I think that would have been a really nice one that I could have added in that I didn't even think about. And thank you, Alex, for not on purpose, but tipping me off to think about the Olympics, because that was something that was not originally on my list, and I stole it from Michael by accident, but it serves him right for stealing the Barclays from me. So
we can trade if you want. Yeah. I'm already afraid. This is like a pretend exercise, and I'm getting nervous about
You're just sweating thinking about it.
Yeah.
Do you want to go watch the Olympics or rot and freeze in the woods for 3 days?
Yeah. Depends on your idea of fun. I'm super jealous of Alex. You got some good ones. You got like I wanted London. I think that might have been my. I'm happy with New York. I'm going to stick to New York. I go back and forth between those two races as the most kind of extraordinary, big marathon, major marathon experience.
I know I've said this a few times, but I really want to stick with it, and I want to keep mentioning it. I think London should be the first Alex's first marathon, or the first marathon that we all run together. We should all.
Yes, that's right.
That's
we hold hands for 1 kilometer, and then Alex runs off into the distance.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I think that should be it should be a team thing, and we should all go and run. Not together. We should all go and run. I wouldn't want to hold you guys back. Run that marathon the same year. That'd be super fun.
I don't know, cool. Katelyn. The way the trajectory of my running career right now, I might be holding you back. All right. Honorable mentions. Anything we left on the cutting room floor here that we're kind of feeling badly about?
I have a couple. I also really want to run the Big Sur International Marathon.
That was on my long list.
Yeah.
Just because it's so pretty.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've heard. New York was also on my marathon list. So those are two. And I had the Las Vegas Rock and Roll Half Marathon just because I thought it would be fun. I just thought, wouldn't that be a fun trip with friends? And there was a trail race, the Glencoe Marathon in Scotland. That was really tricky for me to choose the Transgran Canaria, because that was a very close second. It's in September. the photos, I mean, just running and having these views of the highland, like it just looks absolutely incredible. And I think that that would be one that I would really like to do one day.
I've done some running there. It's
you
amazing.
have?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I'm kind of, I can't believe no one picked Boston, but now I can kind of believe it.
We're all going.
Yeah, because we're going. Yeah.
Because we're going. And I thought Katelyn might pick Boston because you have such a compelling story around it. Little teaser. I can't wait to just take part in it. But maybe it's because it's already too close and we're taking it for granted that we picked other things.
Maybe.
One thing on the cutting room floor for me was Japan. Japan as a whole.
Yes.
Tokyo Marathon,
Yeah.
yes. But also, I want to take part in Japanese running culture. I want to learn about it. I want to do an Ekiden with a bunch of friends. Like a road race.
I was expecting you to pick an Ekiden as your wild card, or like the 10K within an Ekiden as your 10K. That would have been a clever move.
Or a spectator event. There's this one that's very popular, and it's called
Chiba?
there's Chiba, and there's Hakone.
Yeah. Hakone,
It's university students. It's like university guys making teams and competing against each other. And someone made this comment when we were live streaming the Tokyo Marathon that running in Japan is kind of like football, and the Tokyo Marathon is kind of like the Super Bowl in America. And this would just be a huge event. The Ekidens people watch, they care about it. The city comes alive. Japan as a whole is on my travel bucket list, and running in Japan is on my running bucket list.
Yeah, maybe that was a mistake. That was a mistake on my part, because I looked at Ekidens as well, and I thought about getting cute and like picking a 5 or a 10K, because the whole concept of the Ekiden is it's a relay race of a team, and you each run a component of what adds up in mileage to be a marathon distance, and you get like a team time for a fast marathon, which is super fun.
Oh, fun.
I've done Ekidens before myself. The group I used to run with, we used to host a sort of like a pop-up style, for lack of a better term, Ekiden here in Toronto every summer, called the Longest Day Ekiden, which we would host it on the summer solstice, which was always fun. It still goes on. Other people run it now, but it's still great. So yeah, I don't know. I think, okay, one race that I had a really tough time not picking in my wild card was the Dipsea race in California. You guys know the Dipsea race?
No.
It's one of the oldest running events in the world. It's been going on since 1905. It's a 12K, 7.5 kilometers, miles rather. Capped at 1,500 runners. You have to apply by physical mail and physical check. You have to, and it's like literally a race to the mailbox. Like the first people that get their application form and their like $70 check or whatever in the mail to them get into this race. They preference people who have previously run the race as well. So there's like a top, like the first 500, I think it is, who've run the race before, they get in. And there's this whole like tiers of getting in. It's very hard to get into. It is not first past the post for winner. It is age graded and gender graded. So an 8-year-old has won it one year, and a 72-year-old has won it one year.
Oh, that's funny.
What?
That's cool.
At one point, there is a
Very
climb
cool.
of 700 steps, and it finishes in Stinson Beach in California, which is a beautiful spot I've been to before. It's all in like Northern California, in the next to the mountains on the coast north of San Francisco, an incredible part of the world, actually not far from where you'll be in wine country in our pretend bucket list world, Katelyn. And Jesus, race looks awesome, and it's been going on forever. And it's again one of these choose your own adventure courses where like you could take shortcuts which are really hard. One's called Suicide, one's called the Swoop, and there's like kind of a strategy involved in trying to finish the race, which I don't know, it's just a wild, zany looking race. Yeah, I wish I would have taken that one, but I had to go with the Mount Marathon in Alaska. Okay, we did it.
We did
I
it.
think
That's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. This was good.
Cool.
We'll have to do this
I
again.
want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know what people think.
Me too.
I want to know if people think which one's better.
It's an interesting list.
They're
I
all
have
so
anxiety about
different.
my list.
They're all super. Oh, I also had the Krispy Kreme challenge. It's a 5K in Raleigh, North Carolina.
No.
Could you have like love donuts, but I can't eat 12 donuts, especially
You don't
while
love
I'm
donuts
running.
that much,
No.
Katelyn. 12 donuts
my
while
gosh.
running a race.
I was
My
having a
God,
lot
no.
of fun with this, but yeah, I'm really interested to see what our audience thinks and to see who goes, because there are 3 completely different lists.
All right, guys, we did it. We've drafted successfully. Make sure, of course, let us know who you think won this draft. Share with us in the comments. Katelyn's feeling very confident right now. Katelyn has the funnest trip, the funnest year planned. Alex is mostly business. I'm like all over the map. Make sure you provide us with your list of what you would draft for all the different events, and also who you think won the draft, and our horrible misses. Let us know what we missed and didn't even mention. And you can watch a video version of the pod on our YouTube channel. I'm gonna edit together like the draft board and some photos and that sort of thing, so it will be a little more dynamic to watch. And now that I've said that, I have to actually do that.
Get to work.
Crap. And yeah, you can see a video version of this also on Spotify. There's a video version now on Spotify, which is really cool. And you can make comments there too. So share this podcast with your closest running pals. Give us a rating and review us on your podcasting app of choice. Subscribe to our newsletter. We'll put a link in the show notes to our newsletter. It's 240,000 strong right now. And we're also going to put out another podcast this week, which is our Boston Run show that we attended last weekend. And we did a live show on the floor of the Boston Run show on the stage, which I think went really well. And we recorded video and audio of that, and we're gonna push that out as a separate podcast. It's about a half an hour long, sort of cheap and cheerful, and we cover the big running trends of 2025 and beyond. And we had a lot of fun. So
We did, yeah.
Check that out. All right, guys. Until next week. Talk to you again.
Bye.